Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, Manifesting Success Stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I'm back with Kate from K8forwellness.com. Welcome, Kate.
Hi, Cassie. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing awesome as always.
Yay. Well, tell us what's awesome.
Oh, so many good things. Super excited about starting a cleanse for all of my followers and also a challenge. So I've got a lot of people already interested and signed up for both. So I'm really excited.
Yay. That's fantastic. I love it. Cool. So we have lots to talk about. I realized that it's been a little while since we've done this interview. So excited.
I am too. I know we were talking a little bit beforehand and I was like, wow, it's been that, oh my gosh, all this stuff. And you started reminding me of things. I was like, oh my goodness, that feels like so long ago. It was only like a couple weeks ago.
Right. Just always a good thing. That's how you know things are moving, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us your total.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that first.
Okay. I like that. Let's talk money. Let's talk numbers. $64,561.63. Woo! Yay. Do you have a drum roll yet? You need to get a drum roll.
Oh, yeah. I need to get my gong. My gong is actually, I need to get that. That's on my list. Okay.
That would be fun.
Oh, that's so awesome. How does that feel?
It feels great. It really does. And I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, it's been almost a year, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How many days has it been?
Normally.
Because you're usually pretty good at you don't have it. I put you on the spot this time.
I know how to get it real fast though. Let's see. And, maybe not. Normally I put the day. It's been about a year. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
you started March 29th, 2018.
I was just going to say at the end of this month.
It is. Yeah. It has been a little over 11 months.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, okay. So I love that. So what did you think would happen? Like, what were you, cause I think what we think can happen grows as we grow. So when you joined, what were you hoping or what were you like wanting to happen?
Yeah. So I think really, I think back then was a little bit different than what I would say now if I were to join with you, obviously. Yeah. But back then it was more about a numbers thing. Mm-hmm. And, coming from that mindset and people that have been listening to me all along, but just in case they're new, I came from the sales background. So we were all about, crunching numbers, getting the next sale. How are we going to, what are we going to do? How many people we're going to contact, all of that. And I think that's how I came into a lot of this stuff and doing that with manifesting, right. Which doesn't work that way. Right. I mean, and I should have known that because I, follow Mike Dooley and Esther Hicks and all that. So I should know better. It's like letting go of the how and stop controlling that, all the little things in between. But I think I was still a little naive when I joined that would be, because I came from another business coach and we talked about this too. And she isn't about manifesting. She isn't in the same kind of energy kind of work that we do. And so, and she was a driver just like that. So I was still doing that with her, so I think I just kind of came in thinking that that's how it was going to be, but it was totally different.
Right.
There is work, but it's not the same work that I was used to doing. And it's more along the lines of, inner work and trust.
Yeah. I love it.
And I do have to say, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, say whatever you're going to say.
The interviews that we had just started coming out.
Yes.
And listening to them has been amazing because I can already see the growth that I've done. It reminds me, I knew I grew a lot, but I didn't realize how much until I started listening to to those podcasts and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I've changed, more so than I thought.
Mhm.
And because how quickly we forget. I mean, I'm a coach. I do the same thing when I work with people. They forget where they started with me too. And I think this is such an awesome way to show us that we have changed.
Yeah. I
In
love that
leaps
you
and bounds.
Yes, I love that you said that because that was on my list this morning. I thought I'm going to ask her because you're the first person where they've all come out back to back and where we've done it almost a year, so it was about 8 months behind.
Yeah.
And so how did it feel to listen to all those? What was your biggest, like, I don't know, surprise or aha or thought?
Well, my first thought was, oh my gosh, I remember that day. I remember us talking. I remember what I was wearing. I remember what I was going through. Yeah, that was really neat. But my biggest aha was that I've grown so much, because
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I don't do that anymore. Or if I do, it's on a much lesser scale and I catch it now.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see. I mean, I don't sound any different, but I'll tell you, everyone, and I think I said it in another interview too, the women that I work with are so tapped into energy and they notice that stuff and they tell me all the time how much I've changed. And every time I grow a little more, something's changed about you. You've grown, like they know. And they always say, I love how much work you put into yourself. And it's all because of the programs you have set up for us, the workshops that we get to do, the work that we have to do to stay in our future self. All of that stuff keeps us moving forward. And I was trying to explain that today to one of my clients, like she isn't consistent. And I was like, you have to be consistent. You have to do the work. Even when you're not here with me, you have to do the work. And then I actually told her about you. I said, what Cassie tells us is, yeah, we can write for an hour, but what do you do in the other 24? That's what matters the most. And, it's like, you're here with me for an hour, but what do you do in the other 24 hours? 23 hours. It's only 24 hours in a day.
You're just manifesting time.
Manifesting it, yeah. So, it kind of goes hand in hand, like I always tell you, I have to be consistent. You have to do the work. And what I love that I do with you is that you keep us from, I call that treadmill walking, because we feel good with what's comfortable. And when we're growing, it's uncomfortable because we're not used to that. And so you keep us in that uncomfortable space instead of reverting back to what's comfortable. And so I think that is huge. And I think, the best way to say that is coaches need coaches. And, it's not, when we think we can do it alone, like I did in the beginning,
Mhm.
I was seeing things but I'm seeing more because I have you to help as an outsider saying, wait a minute, that's not what you want to do because that's not what we talked about. This is what you want to do. This is where you want to be. So it's always nice to have that. And it's really cool to hear the podcast and you doing that in the podcast too.
I love it. That's awesome.
It is awesome.
So fun. And that's, I mean, you guys are a big reason I set this interview series up. I knew it would help other people, but I also knew it would give you guys such insight into how far you've come, which I think it's one of the most important things to remember, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think, it still helps me grow listening to that too, because it also I pick up on other things that I might not have been aware of. And I can't think of a specific example right now, but there was something that I said in one of the podcasts and I was like, oh, okay. That's something that I can work on, like that. It's interesting that, it brings up other things too. Like, oh, I could grow with that. I could work on that a little more, or that has slipped through the cracks. I need to grow on that a little more, so it's just been awesome just to see the whole journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for setting it up that way. It was great.
You are welcome. I love it. Thanks for saying yes and being here. It's so much fun.
It is so much fun.
So I want to do a little bit of celebrating and then talk about what happened afterwards. But you had your biggest month ever in December and then your next biggest month ever in January.
Yes.
Do you want to share the total?
Yeah. So I don't have December's, but I have January's.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So January was $12,640.59 for the month, which was awesome.
So awesome.
Yay.
My first question about that was, how hard did it feel, or how easy did it feel?
It was definitely easy. I have to laugh about it because I think that was one of the discussions that we had, because I had just the beginning of the month, I did a workshop with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, it's funny because after that workshop, I didn't feel as much growth as I had with the others.
Mm-hmm.
But there definitely was, because everybody in here noticed it. And I didn't. I was like, I did, like I didn't, but I did. And I think that was part of it, was the setting the intention and just putting it out there. And that was it.
Yeah.
So it was easy, but it was like, I don't say I didn't do anything, but
Right.
that's when I was working, with Emily. She was doing some stuff for me, and she was, freeing up some of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And that made me feel like I really wasn't doing anything, but I was.
Yeah.
It just freed up more space for me to be able to do other things that, working on my business and growing, and what felt inspired, and I didn't feel like jammed to do it. So it was awesome. It was so easy.
Yay! I love that.
Yeah.
Especially in contrast to the conversation we had before, like about putting the numbers on the board and going after it in this sort of, how am I going to make it happen way, right?
Yeah,
Just rode that
absolutely.
wave. Yeah. And I definitely, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was awesome because, kind of like what you said with the setting, I think we talked about it in my last interview, with the goals that I usually set for each year.
Yes.
And I like calling them intentions, but goals, because that's what most people call them. But yeah, you're right. It's like, okay, let's write all these down. And, and you said, well, what's preventing you from accomplishing these? And I was like, nothing. And you're like, all right then, and I just loved that. And I think that in of itself just kind of cleared things up for me too. Like, oh yeah, that's right, I got this. I don't need it. So it felt like it was so easy to get that large amount in January, because I was in that mode of, yeah, I've got this. I don't need to do it. I don't have to work hard. I've got, this is inevitable. It's going to happen. And so coming from that space created that, which was great.
Awesome. I love it. And I will say, after that January workshop, I saw the growth in a huge way.
It's so funny that you say that, because I feel it. I'm really in tune to that stuff, and I didn't feel it. And I'm like, I didn't grow as much this time. I knew I got something out of it.
Yeah.
Most definitely did. But usually there's a lot of like healing that needs to be done.
Well, that's the thing, is I think you just almost in an instant became that next level of her. I would say that you almost left the healing part behind, and you're in full on growth mode now.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that in some of your writings, like some of the things that had always been there, that had always bugged you, that had always, like, they didn't show up anymore.
No. And I remember saying that in the workshop when we had to write our last story,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a totally different story. And there was a lot of ahas in that story that I wrote too.
Yeah.
Which I think also opened up a lot of stuff for January, because I was able to let that stuff go as well. And I think one of the biggest ahas was, running from office to office. I had 2 offices going. I'm here 100% now. I was living out of a gym bag all the time because, I was going to the gym, and then I had to shower. And so it felt like I wasn't in one space at all. I felt like I was not even committing to being at home with David, and I think that came out. I read that, and I think when I read it out loud to the group, I was like, oh, wow, that's deep.
Right?
I was like, I never noticed that. But now I work out at home. I shower at home. I don't live out of a gym bag. I have one office that I work out of now. I feel like I belong now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, the biggest obstacle that I got out of, not obstacle, but the aha moment that I got out of January. And I think that opened my, the space up for a lot of stuff too, which I thought was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Love it. And so we're always growing. What I like to teach people is like, even when we get to that next level, there's still this growth. And so you had this amazing month in December, you made more than $12,000 in January, and you were so close as you got real close to your 3-month cushion, which is the thing we've set up. You're like, and I went in and I spent that money instead of getting to the cushion, right? So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that story.
Yeah. So, well, I had saved up some money to help with taxes and stuff.
Mhm.
And, and we ended up paying a little bit more in taxes than what we expected for my husband's business because he bought the building and, but we still had it set aside. And so I said, well, he was kind of upset. And of course, because of the past and back in September, October last year, everything that had happened, I was obviously, almost kind of like a panic mode almost. And I said, well, I've got 4,000 saved if you want to use it. And he was like, towards taxes is what I said. And he was like, well, let's go on a trip. Like he started using it for other things. And I just went into a panic mode of, oh gosh, no, this is not what I had intended it for. And, so it was like some of that stuff the old feelings were coming up of what had happened. And so anyway, it was kind of interesting that popped up and ended up using it for some other things instead. So, it's again, the survival, right? The survival story. It comes up and it shows up in different ways. And I think what we talked about, I was like, well, is that the survival mode or is that me just panicking or fear? I think that was part of that too. But so was some other things that kept popping up. And I think you brought it to my attention that it's not just the survival story anymore that's going on. It's other things. It's the fear of things that, of growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really meeting that space. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I jumped ahead a little too far, but, so yeah, it was, creating that survival story again, which was kind of funny how it popped up and I wasn't even seeing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I see it with the food now. I'm always
yeah.
I can pick up on that.
which is cool. And that's like the foundation to like, oh, now you can see it here. Right. And we just had a conversation is like, is it survival or is it, what would your future self do? Right. Would she that goal or would she do it? And either answer is okay. It's just whatever your future self would do. Right.
Right. And I did say, she would save the money because that gives her the confidence that lets her know there's reassurance. And, so yeah, it was kind of funny that happened. And I was like, oh, wow. I wouldn't have looked at it that way because it wasn't the normal way of me picking up on it, which was the food.
Right.
Me going out and buying food.
Yeah. Yeah. So
but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
great.
Yeah. I love how we keep growing, like these opportunities keep coming up.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And I love seeing them in different ways because obviously it was not just that, like going out and buying more food, even though I had food in the refrigerator in the office here in the office and at home or, like wherever I had food. I mean, it's not like I ever went without. But for some reason, I just felt like I had to go and get more. I don't get it. It's just, and what I love about it, it's just all healthy food. It's not like it's junk food or anything.
Yeah.
So that's how I justified it.
Right. Yeah. And that's my favorite part of the story because it's like, no, this isn't, you weren't just, going to buy a bag of chips or something.
Right. It was like lettuce and vegetables and
So funny.
It cracks me up. But anyway, so yeah, so it's seeing it from a different perspective other than that, that it's still, it shows up in other ways. And, now being aware of that is amazing too. So making sure that I'm aware of that. Even like today, I was thinking that I was like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need this. And then I was like, wait a minute, do you really need that? Do you really need that? And I was like, no, I don't need it. I just want it. I don't need it. And it's not like I'm depriving myself of anything.
Right.
It's not that. It's just if I needed it, I would go get it, but I just wanted it. So it's like, nope, We're not doing that.
I love. um so this is we didn't talk about this before, but what's the biggest way that money in your relationship has changed?
Um, well, my relationship with money has changed, if that's what you're asking, or just my relationship in general, all over, all kinds of relationships.
Oh, it could be all kinds of. I was thinking with David and money and
Oh, yeah.
just how you
So,
interact.
yeah. So David and I have grown leaps and bounds around money, and it was never an issue before. And I think we talked about this before too. It was
Mhm.
never an issue before, but then there was that one moment back in October or September that we talked about that, um, it just caused a lot of stress with everything that was going on. And that's when you and I started working on my budget. So since then, now that I'm more aware, it's nice because I have these discussions with him all the time and let him know. I say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Even this month when I was doing and I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about this, and I was doing my ledger and my bills and stuff, I found there were some things, because now I'm actually checking my bank statement against my ledger, which I wasn't doing, which I should have been doing, and I never did. I found some mistakes. And so I'm like, oh, so this is why my numbers are never the same. Like when I look on my ledger and then I look at my bank account, I was like, why is this so different? And so I bet if I were to go back through 2018, I'd find a lot of different things that I missed. So just taking that next level into being more aware of where the money's going, what is being, taken out of my account, all of that stuff. I'm bringing it to a whole new level. And I haven't even had a chance to talk to you about that because this happened here we are the 7th. So yeah, it just happened just this past weekend. I stepped it up another level. So, we've grown leaps and bounds in that aspect. And I think that what's really good is that we're able to talk about it and not get stressed out about it. And before we never did until that one incident. And now we have just, I feel it's like such a deeper conversation, and it's deeper because I'm aware, I'm more in tune with my money too.
Yes.
I'm more aware of what's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, so it's definitely grown. And my relationship with money too has grown, like how I look at it, how I look at a penny. I'm so excited about pennies. I never used to be, so all of that stuff has changed, my relationship with money and my relationship with David around money as well. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Super excited. And I can't wait to start helping with all the stuff around the house too. I can't wait to relieve some of that stress for him. So I'm super excited.
Yay. Yes.
I'm going to, yeah, I know. Right. And I can't wait to take a video of his face when I hand him a big check.
Yeah. Oh yes.
He doesn't know I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I am too. Because I would want to hand him a check and then I want him to look at the amount and I want it to be made out to him. And I want him to be like, what's this for? Wait, what's this for? So it's happening. It's happening. So I'm excited.
Awesome. I love that. Oh, we're definitely going to talk about that experience on the next interview as well. Yes, I love it. Yes. So, so much fun. Growing is so much fun. And what we were talking a little bit about before we started recording, and I want to share this story that happened a couple of weeks ago with you, where you were sort of feeling like this angst about letting go of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it wasn't even exactly what I thought it was. Because I've been working with Emily and I love her energy and I love where she's coming from and I love everything that she does. And all of a sudden I had this little anxiety about it, that she was doing all of that. And when you and I started talking about it, it really wasn't the fact that she was doing it. That's not what the angst came from. The angst came from the growth. Like, what is that going to bring me? Because she's doing this stuff for me. And that means, more clients. That means, filling up my hours and filling my days. And I was worried because I just started finding an awesome balance with, my personal life and things, my self-love routine that I do. I started getting super excited about that because I started seeing results. This is the healthiest I've ever been. Because in the past, it was all or nothing. I was all into working out, and then my relationship with David and his kids would fall off, and then I'd burn myself out trying to get them happy again, and then that would put a damper on my working out. I mean, it was this big cycle, and it had always been like that. So I was now able to really find an awesome balance. And so then I asked Emily to help me with this social media stuff, and I was like, I had angst around that, and I thought it was because I was letting go of the control with her.
Mm-hmm.
But it really wasn't that. It was the growth that was coming.
Yeah.
That's going to be coming. When you started asking me these questions, I was like, oh God, I didn't even think of that. That's exactly what it is. And it was just the fear of losing that balance and, filling my day, which is great. That's what I want. But I was afraid that I was going to lose everything that I had gained with my health and with my relationships with David and the kids. So does that make sense? Did I explain that right?
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
give it a little, just for our listeners to make sure. So, Kate did what most people, she had this angst. And so she goes, well, I think you even used the word control freak. I've been a control freak.
Yes.
I'm a control freak.
I am.
Right? And this is what everybody does. They go, so the problem, if this is the problem in the past, it must be the problem now. I must be trying to control this.
Mm-hmm.
And that must be the problem.
Yep. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. And everybody thinks that because we just pull from what we know, right?
Yep.
And when we got into it, we realized, no, it's really about like, oh, what if this works?
Isn't that silly? Because that's what we want.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, once we were able to explore and figure out, oh yeah, this is the fear of losing this balance that you just got from, because you weren't just doing survival mode in money, you were doing it in your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able to grow in a different way, which is such an important thing, because I think so many times people would just go try and fix that control.
Yeah.
Instead of, well, like, what else could this be?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. It was something else.
Yeah. And once we realized that, right, you were able to, inspiration has been flowing, right?
Yeah. Well, think about it too, because now that you said that, it just gave me another aha. Well, February was my least amount of collections.
Uh-huh.
And I was living in that space of, oh my gosh, and once we did that, I started getting clients, and that was last week or the week prior. And so it's just so funny that how that just kind of, that's the energy we're sending out. That's what we get back. And then, and now I'm open to like, oh yeah, I got this. I already have my rituals down. It's not going to be a problem. We can fill up the calendar. And then all of a sudden, here we are. People are now signing up with me. And
right.
It's so funny.
It is so funny, you're a week into the month. And if I didn't have you look this up before the call, but I would guess this is probably your biggest week ever, or close to it.
Close to it. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, you're right. You were in this space of which you didn't even know, like, is it going to work? And then we just opened the gates and like, yeah, it is going to work because it's going to be okay.
Right. Yeah. Because part of the goals that I set is my health goals too. And that was one of the things, I was like, oh, how's that going to, I far I've gotten, it's just so funny how it all, you're right. It's still survival, right? But just in a different form.
Yeah. Yep. And just growing and just coming out of that and even a new level and a new level.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Deeper and deeper for sure.
I love it. So I want you to share this one thing because you said something just in a coaching call a couple weeks ago, that like you had a 30-day body goal and you're seeing results for things that you've been doing for a long time, but
Mhm.
now it's working. So you talk a little bit about that because I think this is amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of it, I think, is that same thing, like you just said. It's like such an aha moment. Survival, right? So I was
Yeah.
always in, and maybe it's not so much, oh, well, yes, it is. It's fear, right? So I was constantly doing all of this stuff out of fear of not being healthy, out of fear of not looking good, out of fear of, whatever that fear was. It was many, I would say. But come, this year, I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and how I did it. And it's not coming from a place of fear anymore. It's coming from listening to, as you would say, inspiration, because I wake up in the morning, how do I feel today? Do a body assessment. If I'm not 100%, then I don't work out.
Mm.
And, I just kind of started tapping into that. And I've already lost, actually, it was funny because I weighed myself this morning. I lost more weight and I gained more lean body mass. And I've been PRing, which is a personal record. I've been doing astounding stuff with weights and with speed. And I'm working out less.
Yay!
Isn't that funny?
It is funny.
So it's just amazing, like how it works in all aspects of our life, not just with money.
Yes.
So yeah, so I think that's where a lot of that fear was coming from too, with the when it was last month, it was fear of, I'm going to have a lot of growth now that I'm getting help putting out those messages. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen with that now? Because I'm seeing, I'm changing and seeing awesome results and leaps and bounds. But now I'm not doing it out of fear. I'm doing it out of what feels good. And so, that's another prime example of that survival.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'd tap myself out with that. I mean, if we're looking at energy, the energy to do things, I was tapping myself out of the energy. There was just no more reserves in the tank. It's kind of like money in the bank. You don't have enough money in the bank to do the other stuff. You're creating those crises that you have to always fix.
That's right. And now, Kate's mantra, I'm getting it all.
Yes, that's right. That is my mantra. I have it taped right to my computer. I love it.
I love it. That's the new story we're writing. I love it.
I am. It's awesome.
I love it.
I resonate with it.
Yeah. I definitely want you to share, how can people connect with you if you want a health coach that is LOA savvy and does the work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So they can connect with me on my website at www.k8forwellness.com. And that's the letter K, the number 8, the number 4, wellness.com. And they can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram with the same handle. So it's K8forwellness.com. Actually, Instagram's not .com, but Facebook, but it's K8 for Wellness.
Love it. Any final thoughts for our listeners as we wrap up?
Oh, yeah. A lot of final thoughts come to my mind, but I think, the one that's resonating, that's coming to mind first is definitely, do the work, even if it's for 5 minutes a day, and getting someone to help you, to remind you to do that is key. And I think that is what's going to help us move forward and keep us from doing that treadmill walking that I always talk about. So, and Cassie definitely has been the one for me. So I always say, check her out. If you guys haven't started working with her yet, you have to. It's a must on everybody's list, I would say.
Love it. Well, thank you for sharing your story. And I'm looking forward to the next interview because I know it's going to be even more fun stuff to share.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening, and have a fabulous rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to attract more money into your life, Go to your favorite book retailer and order Cassie's book, Manifest $10,000.